The next morning he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. The next morning Dr. Sadao got up and he made an excuse to his wife Hannah to go into the guest room, the room of that American first, because why he went to see that American was killed or not. If the American were gone, if the American was not there, he then could simply tell Hannah. Then he thought that I will simply inform my wife Hannah that so the general had directed that it happened because it was as per the direction of as per the instruction of the army general. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there was the pillow was the saggy blonde head. He again he saw as he opened the door that on the pillow there was still that head was lying. The saggy means hair is smeared, so that head was that blonde means having yellowish hair in the head. It was still lying, means that American was still sleeping. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep. He could hear the peaceful breath of sleep also. The American was breathing, and he closed the door again quietly. And he closed the door again quietly. He's asleep, he told Hannah. He's sleeping, he told Hannah. He's almost well to sleep like that. Now he has become quite okay that he could sleep. What shall we do with him? Hannah whispered to her old refrain. Again Hannah whispered her old refrain. Means refrain is a kind of thing, is a kind of statement or sentence which is repeated again and again, and Hannah has repeated again and again this statement ever since they found this man at the seashore. What shall we do with him? Again Hannah asked same thing to Dr. Sadao, that what shall we do with him? Sadao shook his head in a thoughtful way. I must decide in a day or two. Okay, I will decide in 1 or 2 months. Dr. Sadao hoped that in 1 or 2 days general will sell definitely assassins and he will be killed and his body will be removed. He promised to Hannah that definitely in 1 or 2 days I will take some action. But all of a sudden he thought the second night must be the night. Dr. Sadao thought that the second night will be the night if this night assassins were not sent by the doctor by the old army general, then perhaps second night, this night will be the night when assassins will come. There rose a wind that night, but on the second night a wind rose, a strong wind, and he listened to the sounds of bending box. He listened to the sound of bending box means branches of the trees because of fast air, and whistling partitions. And partitions were whistling means the partitions are open and the wind was entering with a rapid speed through the windows into the house, and it was creating a whistle type of sound. Hannah woke up. Hannah got up. Ought we not to go and close the sick man's partition? She asked. And she asked in that bad night to Dr. Sadao that we should not go to that sick man's room and close the partition means window. She asked. Means Hannah is proposing here that we should go because it is a stormy season. It's a stormy night. So we should go and close the window of that man. No, Sadao said no. He's able now to do it for himself. He's now quite okay, and he can close it himself also. But the next morning, the American was still there. Next morning again, Dr. Sadao went and found that American was not killed. Then the third night, of course, must be the night. Then Dr. Sadao thought that the third night may be the night on which he will be killed. The wind changed to quite rain. The second night's wind now is changed into a good rain, and the garden was full of the sound of dripping eaves. Eaves, you can say, a kind of edge of the houses where from the water drops at rain time, and running springs, and a lot of sudden gust of air, and the water dripping sound from the eaves. It became audible on the third night. Sadao slept a little better on the third night, but he woke up at the sound of a crash and leaped to his bed. All of a sudden, a crash means something broken. That kind of sound was there, and he all of a sudden got up and came out of his bed. What was that? Hannah cried. What was that? What kind of sound is that? The baby woke at her voice, while Hannah spoke so loudly that the baby also woke and began to wail, and he started weeping. The child started crying. I must go and see. Dr. Sadao said that I must go and see, but Hannah told that I must go and see. It is for Hannah, for Hannah. But he held her and would not let her move. But Dr. Sadao stopped her, asked her to stop, not to go, and he told that there is no need to go there. Sadao, she cried, Sadao, what is the matter with you? What happened with you? Don't go, he muttered, don't go, don't go. Dr. Sadao said, don't go, like this. His terror infected her. His terror also infected her. Infection is a kind of thing which is spreads. So Dr. Sadao was terrified, and now at this time, terror is a kind of infection which has captured Dr. Sadao, because he knew the reality that what kind of sound it would have been. And that terror infected Hannah also. Hannah also terrified, and she stood breathless. She also stood breathless. Means she even not means quietly waiting. There was only silence. Only silence was there. Together they crept back into the bed. All of together with they again went into their bed to sleep. The baby between them and the baby between both of them. Yet when he opened the door, and even after that, when he opened the door in the third morning, the guest room in the morning, there was a young man. Again he saw that young man was sleeping. Dr. Sadao hoped after listening this sound that definitely this man would have been killed, but he found that man was still not killed in the third night also. He was very gay, and had already washed and was now on his feet. He was very gay, means that American was looking very happy. He for American here, and had already washed, and he had already taken wash, means bathed, and was now on his feet, and he was walking on his feet. He had asked for a razor yesterday. Yesterday he asked for a razor and had shaved himself, and he did his shaving, and today there was a faint color in his cheeks, and now there was a faint color, means very little color of reddish, means blood was coming into his body. I am well, he said joyously. He said joyously to the doctor in the third morning that I am very good, sir. Sadao drew his kimono around his very body. Sadao drew his kimono. Kimono is a kind of Japanese garment which becomes very loose, which Sadao was wearing. He drew that because it was winter, a little bit of cold. He could not, he decided certainly. He decided that he could not. He could not means he could not be killed now. Doubt means in the fourth morning, Dr. Sadao decided that perhaps this man should not is not deserve killing, because even after informing to the general, he is still surviving for the third morning. So he decided that he should do something now definitely to himself. He decided certainly. Dr. Sadao decided certainly go through another night. He thought that I will not wait for another night. It was not that he cared for this young man's life. Actually, it was not that he cares for this young man's life. No, simply it was not worth the strain. Actually, it was simply because Dr. Sadao now decided, and on the fourth night he thought that I will not another night, and he thought that I will make a plan myself. So simply because that he was not caring that young man, it was simply because he was creating a lot of stress into his house, into his life, giving a lot of tension to him. You are well, Sadao agreed. Sadao agreed, yes, you are well now. He lowered his voice. He spoke in a low tone. You are so well that I think, now this statement is spoken by Dr. Sadao in a very low voice. And he said, you are so well that I think if I put my boat on the, she is speaking slowly, that I think that if I put my boat on the seashore tonight, it is a plan of Dr. Sadao. Dr. Sadao is now going to escape this man from Japan. And he says that if I put my boat on the seashore tonight with food and extra clothing, if I keep some food and extra clothing there, clothes there, in that boat, you might be able to row. Perhaps you might be able to row, means manage the boat to get to the other part, to that little island. There was a little island just to the other part of that sea. In island, not far from the coast. He's told that that island is not far from the coast. It is so near the coast that it has not been worth fortifying, and it is so near the coast that it is not. There is no need to fortify. Means there is no need to cover it. There is no need to keep it safe. Means if you are going there, no will even doubt that someone is there. Nobody lives on it. That island is quite solitude. No one lives there, because in storm it is submerged. Because in stormy season it submerged, means that island becomes completely submerged in water. But this is not the season of storm. You could live there until, and he told further that you can stay there on that island until you saw a Korean fishing boat, from Korea, if passes to near to that island. Then they pass quite near the island, because Dr. Sada has idea, and he said that the Korean fishing boat passed very close to the island. Because the water is many phantoms deep there, because water is only few feet, phantom is many phantom is 6 feet, means water is only 6 feet deep at that portion where the island is situated. That's why Korean fishing boats always goes close to that island area, and if Korean fishing boats comes, you can escape from here. The young man, so students, finally Dr. Sadao has decided to save this man, to give him his boat and food and clothing, and he wanted that this man should escape from America. The young man stared at him. The young man stared, slowly comprehending. Slowly he was actually thinking that what Dr. Sada was telling him. Do I have to? He asked. The American asked that, do I have to? Means, are you serious, doctor? I have to do this? I think so, Sadao said gently. Sadao said gently, yes, I think that there is no solution of this problem. You understand it. It is not hidden that you are here. And he informed also to that American that you can understand, Mr. American, it is not hidden that you are here. Means it is always already informed to the Army General that you are here, and it is not better for you to stay here anymore. The young man nodded in perfect comprehension. The young man agreed in a perfect comprehension, means he was he perfectly understood the plan of Dr. Sadao. Okay, he said simply, okay, sir. Sadao did not see him again until evening. Sadao did not meet that man again. He met today in the morning, third morning, and he did not come to meet that man again until evening. Now it was evening. As soon as it was dark, he had dragged the stout boat down to the shore. As soon as it became dark, Dr. Sadao went to the seashore, and he arranged his stout boat, means his boat, is small boat, down the shore, and in it he put food and bottled water, and he kept food, bottled water that he had bought secretly during the day, which he has bought from the market secretly in the daytime, as well as 2 quilts he had bought at a pawn shop, and he bought 2 quilts also from the pawn shop. Pawn shop is a kind of shop on which the stolen things are sold. The boat he tied to a post in the water. The boat he fastened into the post into the water, for the tide was high, because the sea wave was high. There was no moon. It was no moon, so it was dark night, and he walked without a flashlight, and he walked without a torchlight, because if torchlight will be there, anyone can doubt. When he came to the house, when Dr. Sadao came to the house, he hinted as though he were just back from his work. He showed to Hannah that he is returning from his home. He is returning from his work. He did not show her that he went to the seashore and he actually arranged everything to escape that American. And so Hannah knew nothing. That's why Hannah could not know anything of the plan of Dr. Sadao. Yumi was here today. Yumi returned today. She said as she served his supper. Dr. Sadao was informed by Hannah that Yumi had returned. Means in 3 servants, Yumi had returned while Hannah was serving supper, night food to Dr. Sadao. Though she was so modern, Hannah was so modern, still she did not eat with him. Still Hannah did not eat with her husband. Yumi cried over the baby. Yumi actually came because she was weeping about the baby. She was remembering the baby. She went on with a sigh. She told that she went with a sigh, means with a deep heart. She misses him so, and she misses that baby so much. That's why Yumi returned. The servants will come back as soon as the foreigner is gone, Sadao said. Sadao said to Hannah that all the servants will, Yumi return today, and both servants will return as soon as this American goes from here. But the students, he has not told anything to his wife about his plan. He went into the guest room that night before he went to bed. He went into the guest room that night, Dr. Sadao, before he went to bed, and checked carefully everything. The American's temperature, checked the state of wound, the condition of the wound, and his heart and pulse rate. Everything was checked by Dr. Sadao. The pulse was irregular, but that was perhaps because of excitement. But that was not any kind of disease actually, because of operation. It may be because that American was very excited. The young man's pale lips were pressed together, and his eyes burned. The young man's lips were pressed together, means he was very thoughtful, in a very thoughtful gesture, and his eyes were burned, means there were a lot of emotions, good emotions, there was a lot of respect in his eyes for Dr. Sadao. Only the scars on his neck were red. Only the scars on his neck were looking reddish color. I realize you are saving my life again, he told Sadao. He told Sadao that I realized, doctor, that you are saving my life once again. Not at all, Sadao said. Sadao said, no, I'm not saving your life. It is only inconvenient to have you here any longer. It is only inconvenient, not easy for me to allow you to stay here any longer. That's why I am just trying to escape you here from. He had hesitated a good deal about giving the man a flashlight. Dr. Sadao had hesitated a good deal, means a lot of hesitation was in the mind of Dr. Sadao about giving the man a flashlight torch, because the torch will be used by him and he may be caught by the Japanese authorities. But he had decided to give it to him after all. But finally he decided to give a torchlight to that American. It was a small one. He gave him a small torch, his own. That was his own torch, which he used at night when he was called. Whenever he was called by anyone, which Dr. Sadao used that torch, which he gave to him. If your food runs out, and now he told him, that American, that if your food runs out before you catch a boat, before you catch a Korean boat, then, and suppose that whatever the food I'm giving you, that is over, he said, signal me 2 flashes by this torch at the same instant, means quickly at the same time. The sun drops over the horizon. While the sun drops over the horizon, means don't signal in night, in day, signal me daytime. Do not signal in darkness. Do not signal in darkness, for it will be seen, because in darkness it will be noticed. If you are all right but is still there, if you are all okay but is still there, signal me once, give me one signal, means give me one flashlight. So Dr. Sadao made a plan that if your food is out, you are still there at the island, give me 2 signals, but don't give me signals at night or in day also. Give me signal at evening time. If you are okay, have food, but is still there, give me 1 signal. You will find fresh fish easy to catch, and you can find easily fresh fish there, but you must eat them raw. But you need to eat those fish raw without cooking them, because a fire would be seen. Because if you will burn a fire to cook them, to roast them, it will be seen. Okay, the young man breathed. The young man agreed. Okay, so all the plan was understood by that American, and he agreed with the plans of Dr. Sadao.